Hey guys, Languagehacker here with a new comp to show you. We got a nature build going on, which is kind of cool. It started with Admirable the other day asking me to theorycraft something with GUFF, and I thought, you know, well, GUFF sucks. But after I went through it, turns out there's actually some cool nature stuff you can do, and I got some inspiration from seeing other people on ladder as well. So let me go through the build with you guys. Okay, I've called it Tough GUFF. I don't know if GUFF's actually the most integral part of this, but I like GUFF, so we're calling it Tough GUFF. Now let's go through and identify what each of these are actually doing. We'll start off with GUFF. You know what? JK, let's start off with Malfurion. Malfurion's probably the most important part of this build, and I should start with that first because I don't want to bait you guys into 10 minutes thinking that this is the coolest comp ever, and then you realize that, oh, Malfurion's kind of expensive, I can't do this. So let's start with Malf. What does Malfurion do? Well, Malfurion's a protector. Let's go through his abilities. Cenarian Surge, deal damage. Your character's nature abilities are faster next turn. And this applies for all three of your characters, not just Malfurion. So any nature spells on the following turn are sped up. Speed, good. We've seen that from other builds. Entangling Roots, deal damage to an enemy and root it. Single target, cool. Root it means that they miss their next physical attack, but they can still use abilities. Finally, Archer's Call. Choose one, AoE damage or AoE heal. Generally, I use Malf just to spam Cenarian Surge because I want to keep the speed going. But sometimes I've used these as well if I needed to root or do a burst. Well, not a burst heal. It's kind of slow, but a heal. Let's go through the equipment. Entangling Roots also slows the enemy's next ability by 1 speed or by 2 speed or whatever. Briarthorn, Archer's Call deals more damage, the AoE. But this is why we're running Malfurion. Life Root Staff. Whenever you cast a nature ability, restore health to your characters. Well, in a nature build, if you're spamming nature spells, you have really good sustain with Malf, and Malf makes your nature spells faster. This is basically the Shadow comp, but with nature and ramping and healing and sustain. So yeah, that's why Malf's in. Malf is really good. And that's kind of why it enables the rest of it. That way you don't get an immediately sniped round 1 by like a Samuro, because some of the sustain that you have on the turn heals you outside of the OTK range. All right, let's go through the other guys. I usually start with Malfurion, GUFF, and Brucon as an opener, just so you guys are aware. So I'm going to go through those guys first. GUFF, all nature spells. Runic Slam, attack an enemy, death blow, give all mercs on your battlefield and bench +3/+10. Okay, so it's got some buff stuff going on. Living Brambles, deal 13 damage. Nature combo. A combo means, specifically a nature combo means if another nature spell or ability was cast this turn before Brambles on your side of the board, then the nature combo happens. So in this case, Brambles would proc twice, which is pretty good, especially when you have nature damage, and especially when you're hitting, let's say, a protector for double damage because of the type advantage. Finally, Iron Bark. Gain taunt this turn. After you cast a nature ability this turn, gain +4/+12. Taunt can be useful to protect your Malfurion and Brucon, and I've found that despite this being kind of funny because you don't expect a caster to be buff, I've gotten some pretty buff GUFFs. And you'll see from some of the games that we'll show you after this, buff can get pretty tough pretty quickly. And it's pretty nice to do that on turn 2. If you don't need extra damage to clear up some of the mercs, I generally go for Iron Bark to buy myself extra time for Malfurion to heal the damage that was in on turn 1. So pretty flexible toolkit. You get a lot of burst damage, taunt plus some buffing, and after you buff, Runic Slam actually becomes really nice because GUFF ends up being like 25, 100 or more if you keep getting Iron Barks going, and then when you slam stuff, it buffs himself and the rest of your mercs and the bench, which is really, really useful because he's on first, so he might stick for a while. Let's go through the equipment. Bloom and Shroom, Runic Slam gives more. You could do that, but I found Runic Slam actually is probably the least one that's used. I use these two most often, and sometimes I don't even use Iron Bark, so it's probably not that useful. Bramblethorn, Living Brambles deals more damage. This has been really nice in order to immediately burn out a merc on turn 1. Sometimes with Brucon, Malf, and GUFF, you are able to actually kill one. Usually it happens on turn 2, but some of the breakpoints line up a bit nicer if you add damage to Bramble, especially if you're targeting a protector again. And Earthen Bracers. Iron Bark gives +2/+4 more. I was initially running this to make GUFF buffer, but I found that it's fun to make GUFF buff, but it's generally better to just nuke a merc instead. So I use this conditionally, but because of that, I realized that I was losing the mirror a lot. I actually faced some other nature comps, and Brambles having extra damage actually lets you kill off the enemy Malfurion. And if you don't have the extra damage, Malfurion sticks a turn, which is a disaster. So because of that, we're running Bramble Thorn Totem, which is nice because it's not task 7. Now, Malfurion's Life Root Staff is task 7, so that's going to require some grinding, but it's very powerful. Next up, Brukan. It's another caster. This is your scaling damage. You have Lightning Bolt, single target, gain a bunch of spell damage, gain a bunch of nature damage. Muddy Footing, single target, slow, the next ability. Now, if this hits on a specific turn, the ability that Merc would also cast on that same turn would be slower. So if this comes in before, let's say, a Cairn Hoof Stomp, the Cairn Hoof Stomp, that turn will be delayed, not the following turn. So you need to be careful with this. You could delay your opponent's this turn, not next turn ability. So be aware of that. And finally, Chain Lightning. Deal damage to an enemy, repeat this on adjacent enemies, and this is buffed with the equipment that I have here. Lightning Rod. Chain Lightning repeats on 2 additional enemies, but has +1 cooldown. So what I normally do is ramp, Chain Lightning. Sometimes I do Muddy Footing if I think I need the extra speed instead of the ramp. But I found that Brukan generally sticks a turn or two, so having Chain Lightning on a slightly longer cooldown, but having it a bit buffer is probably better. Alternatively, you could take Muddy Footing, slows a bit more, but it's not that important. And I've seen some people use this. Lightning Bolt deals more damage. So this is really good if you're trying to just nuke someone turn 1. But I find that doesn't happen that often with the comp, and if you're doing that, if you're trying to nuke someone, it's better to have the Brambles anyways. Sometimes you need both. If you're trying to hit something a bit more beefy, like Malfurion starts off with 68, and that is killable if both Brukan and GUFF have buffed stuff. But I think in the mirrors, I've still been able to kill Malfurion just with the Brambles buff and without the Brukan Lightning Bolt. So I like having the Lightning Rod because I think it adds a bit more damage. All right, so those are the 3 most important parts of the comp. GUFF, Brukan, and Malf, because that's usually your opener and how you start ramping up. After that, depending on who dies, I decide to throw in Cairn or Brightwing. If I lose Malfurion, I can throw in Cairn to continue providing speed buffs to my characters. And Cairn can taunt as well. If I lose Brukan or GUFF, I throw in Brightwing to try to start buffing up the rest of my bench, and we'll see that here. Fairy Breath on Brightwing, deal damage, which is also nature, so it scales. It heals with Malf as well, his equipment, and it deals extra damage with Brukan. And it synergizes with GUFF's combo and the Iron Bark, which is why I'm trying Brightwing, but I'm not sure if Brightwing's optimal. Deal damage, give a random friendly Merc on your bench plus stats. This has been really nice, and this is why I end up having like Cairn and Diablo left over. After you both kind of blow up your opponent's, you and your opponent's scalability, it's nice just throwing down like a 30-100 Diablo to just close out the game, and that's been kind of funny. There's some extra sustain as well, AoE heal, and you can phase shift, heal specifically Brightwing, and then swap out with a House Health Merc. I don't use this too often. Usually I just bounce back and forth between these two. And the equipment here doesn't matter too much. I haven't found that any of these are really that useful. If you really want to, I'd probably get the healing. Or I guess you could add the additional health with the Fairy Breath buff. But both of those I don't think are super integral to the build, so I would just delay those if you don't really want to spend time on that. Cairn. Why is Cairn here? Cairn's good at speed control. I'm not going to go into Cairn too much. Cairn is in like a bunch of comps, but basically he has a taunt. He makes your guys faster. He makes your opponent's guys slower. That's the TLDR. I have a reincarnation on him so that he's a bit healthier. A lot of comps right now are opening with a couple of casters, and because of that, Cairn can die kind of quickly, so having the extra health on that is kind of nice. And finally, like I said, Diablo is kind of a well-rounded green unit. This comp is missing green, so against another blue-heavy comp, having a Diablo as a finisher can be nice. And sometimes I've even tried throwing in Diablo second after my initial guys get killed to try and clean up some of their scalable casters. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on Diablo as well. I noticed today that I saw some opponents running Lady Anacondra as an option as well. Again, as a response to the blue-heavy comps you've been seeing, you can end up cutting Brightwing and putting in Anacondra, because Anacondra still does have nature stuff, which scales with the other abilities, with the abilities of the other characters. But on top of that, Lady Anacondra being green means that you can use her as a response to like a GUFF Brukan opening to try and kill GUFF and Brukan before they continue scaling. Yeah, that's the comp. Try it out. I would recommend starting off with GUFF, Brukan, and Malf in your initial board, and then from there you can test and experiment and see what else is worth throwing in second once people die off. I had a lot of fun playing this build, and it's kind of nice trying out different builds, so I will probably be continuing to ship out some new stuff every couple of days, so keep an eye out for that. Enjoy the following games, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Happy grinding. Kistner. We faced Kistner before. Was this the BTX? It might have been. 222. For the wild. Which bounty gives coins for Varden? Exclamation mark, Merc coins. Ooh, okay. Am I actually ramping here, or am I trying to make Diablo slower so he doesn't get his Fire Stomp off next turn? Oh no, it's just going to make this one slower, so that doesn't actually make sense. We'll do this. Diablo Stomp is going to demolish me next turn is the problem. Well, I mean, we actually do a lot of damage to him this turn. Maybe it's okay. Wait, did this only hit 2? No, it hit 3. So why are you so slow, but you're not? Oh, Diablo hit him. Yeah. Okay, sure. I mean, we just killed Diablo here, right? The taunt's useless here, so I don't actually do that. Is this Reincarnation? It is Reincarnation. I think we clean up Varden and just ignore Karen. And we'll go for the ramp. That's fucked up. So they have one of each things left. We can throw in Brightwing. We do have nature spells are faster, so I could go for Brightwing, immediately heal. And I think I do that. Keep the Brucon alive. Cyrella, that's fine. So this should be, yeah, hyper fast. So we go for the heal, because they don't have a lot of damage with this build. They have a bunch of slows, but I can just beat this with sustain. Chain Lightning does 1,000,000. I should actually, this is what I should do. I should leave these guys to just keep slowing and just kill the third unit they put in, because these guys don't do a bunch of damage. Which means I actually shouldn't Chain Lightning. We keep ramping. And we keep making sure our abilities are not too slow. Okay. Sure. Okay. Thing is, now Malfurion dies, which is unfortunate, but c'est la vie. Kill off Cyrella. Maybe we'll kill off Varden, actually. I should launch this before he dies. Do I want to kill Varden here? My instinct was to just kill the third thing they throw in every game, every round, but maybe that's not true. I have no idea. Sure. Okay. Karen or Diablo here? I think we throw in Karen. We'll buff Diablo a bit with the Brightwing. Okay, I thought they might have Samurai on this build. Okay, so they used Endurance Aura. So they are. I am not slow this turn, and they are not faster. Varden's fastest thing is 5, so we can kill her. We should try to kill her with Earth Stomp, though. Do I go for the heal here? This is pretty fast, though. So it's a 50-50 on the heal. 18 plus 19, 37. Doesn't do enough. Brucon definitely dies this turn. I think we clean up Karen, actually. I don't think I go for the healing. Okay, let's try this. Get 2 kills at once. And then we just have Samurai left over, which we should be able to deal with. Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is over. We have a thick Diablo left on the bench. Well, I'm assuming it's over. I don't know what their last Merc is, but I can't imagine the Merc gets through these 3. I have a Cairn with Reincarnate left over too. Garrosh. This makes me go faster. And then you... And it's Taunt, which is good. Actually, Mirror Image is pretty fast too. No, we Nature Stomp last turn. We did Nature Stomp, and it did hit the Samuro. So Samuro's slowed this turn. I think we'll do this. I mean, the freeze doesn't matter, but sure. Taunt. That's not going to kill. And the image protect. Nice. The taunt protects against the image. And that's slower next turn because of the muddy footing. So this is basically lethal. We could heal instead, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think this is actually lethal. Oh, Whirling Blade goes off. I forgot that Whirling Blade can happen. Why did I think? Oh, yeah, because I that was my bad. I chose the wrong thing on Brucon. Wait, but I could have sworn. Oh, I did Endurance Aura the previous turn. I did Earth Stomp this turn, so Samuro's actually not slow. That's my bad. I messed up. Yeah, I should have healed then. They're slower. I think I'm fine taunting. We'll heal, and then this guy will just clean up. Nice. I still have Reincarnate too. Cool. It's not lethal this turn, but next turn it is. Nice. Got there. So this is a weird fight where... This is actually a really interesting game. Where I left up my opponent's... slowers, and then just dealt with their damage dealers one by one. I'm not sure if that was correct or not, but it was an interesting way to take it. Eventually, I did switch to killing Varden and Karen in one turn. Raven, what have you been playing? 3 caster. This looks like Shadow Comp, or it could be Nature Comp as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where I could deviate. Maybe not put in Guff. I go Brucon, Malf, Diablo, because they're going to open with 2 blues as well. But I'm too stupid to think. Beast Comp. I've seen Beast Comp pop up a few times today too, yeah, actually. All right, it's very important to look at what they have. They have Chain Lightning as well. They have Brambles. And they have Healing. All right, so this comes down to the coin flip round 1. Let's see whose Malf dies. Okay, let me do math. 8 plus 26. 34. 34 plus 20. Wait, am I stupid? This is times 4. 52. 60. Lightning Bolt. So I actually do want to ramp. I don't need... Yeah, I want to ramp because Malf does die. Both their Malfs die, I think. I went first, which means I'm at a disadvantage now because I don't get the heal. Oh, maybe not actually. This is not a kill. Oh, I won the flip. I won the coin flip. Oh no, I didn't win the coin flip. It doesn't matter. Never mind. So now we have options. We can put in Brightwing because I have heal and nature damage. Or I can put in Diablo and start punching. I could also put in Cairn and make myself faster. The problem with Cairn is it's a little sketchy with this stuff. But it does give me speed advantage, and it has a nature thing as well. I think it's Cairn. And a Conjure, okay. We go for the Earth Stomp. He has too much health to immediately die. Now, the thing is, do I go for Iron Bark? And I think the answer is no. I think the damage is just too important at this point. We can kill off Brucon to get rid of that. What if my Brucon dies? Unlucky? I mean, unlucky, right? I mean, I can't do anything to protect him. The only thing I can consider is switching to do Muddy Footing instead of ramping to make sure I get the damage off. 32. 32 plus 13 is 45. 56. So this doesn't actually kill Brucon. I could kill Anacondra, but I don't really care about Anacondra too much. I think it's important to get the Earth Stomp off. I'm actually not going to ramp. We're going to go for the slow. Maybe that's wrong. So we don't kill their Brucon, and their Brucon actually doesn't kill mine either, because it's not enough spell damage. Oh, but this... Yeah. The Lady and Conjure thing of the turn. So we're faster right now, which means we can throw in Diablo and do AoE. Normally I would Brightwing, but specifically all three of these are slower. And I can make my Diablo even faster with the Endurance Aura. So this does a lot of damage. Do I need to use Endurance Aura? I can go for a punch. So they're 3 slower. Her fastest thing is 7, Keck W. His fastest thing is 6, but it's a taunt. And he's not going to do that. And his fastest thing is a 7. So I actually don't need to Endurance Aura here. I can go for a punch. Which means that dies, which is very important. You go for that. And then what are you doing? I'm not using a nature thing this turn. So did I just go for the 13 damage? Actually, how much damage is this? 24 plus 15? No, plus 20. 24 plus 20 is 44. We go for the Runic Slam, the finisher. Yeah, Admirable. I after playing a bit more today, I decided that Anacondra might be the last one to throw in instead of Brightwing. Oh, they went for the Iron Bark. That's actually a disaster. That's an incredibly big disaster. I forgot. I mean, no, I should have assumed that. Yeah, that was my bad. That was really not smart. That's a huge throw. Because I could have killed her off. And now I'm not faster. So Guff is death. Guff is death. Guff is dead. I think I lose here. What do they have left over? They probably have a Cairn. And what's their last blue? It's almost max Deadpool, but I don't know. I don't think it is max, but it's close to maxed. No, I don't think Brightwing... Like, I have Brightwing, but I don't think Brightwing's actually good. This is actually such a big deal that happened. Because that happened, their Guff... Yeah, I just threw so hard. They gained +4, +12 on the Guff. Because I didn't kill the Anacondra. And on top of that, I also didn't kill the Anacondra, which is an absolute disaster. Oh, they have Morgul. Oh, interesting. So this gives some sustain. Oh, Murloc Missile is nature damage. Interesting. Interesting. That's not that scary, though. Cairn is probably the last thing. I think I'm favored here. It's 4v4 right now. I mean, the thing is Anacondra's probably just dying this turn. And if she's not dying, it's because they're focusing on healing, which means that I slow them next turn and then we'll kill next turn. So I think I win from here, despite my misplay and letting Anacondra live and buffing their Guff. They won the 50-50 there. That's such a disaster. Cairn would have killed her if I won the flip here on the 50-50. Did you... All of them went before me? So I lost one flip. I lost two flips. That's really bad. Ouchie time. Okay. That was not good. We each have a blue, green, red. Okay, so it is Cairn. So I did get the stomp off. So these two are slower, but Cairn is not slower. Am I going for the stomp? Does 15 damage-ish? They can taunt with Cairn, which is kind of the issue. I think I just go for Apocalypse to clean that up. Because that's going to happen first, I believe. Yeah. So we'll just Apocalypse to make sure that dies. Do I go for an uppercut? I actually probably do go for an uppercut. It's probably going to hit Cairn because they're taunting, but in case they don't, we do that. Do I go for healing here? Or do I go for breath? I think they could stomp this turn. I think I just go for the healing on cooldown to make sure Diablo... Like, Diablo's my damage dealer right now. If we can keep 3 up over 2, we should win. So I just need to make sure that Diablo's healthy until Anaconda dies. If I'm faster than the minions, I stomp 3 times. Correct. But Cairn could do his taunt. And his taunt would tie my Apocalypse. Yeah, didn't go for the taunt. Oh, that means the rest is faster too. Oh, it's a disaster. I forgot that the taunt makes them faster. But it means they didn't stomp. Oh, this was just not smart of me. This was incredibly unwise. Oopsie. Uh-oh. I'm playing myself. That's not good. Is Brightwing worth leveling up? I don't know. My instinct is probably not. I'm trying Brightwing out. Okay, nice. We want the Earth Stomp flip. But I mean, that doesn't really matter. Okay, we're both slower. I mean, I just go for the sustain. I'm winning here. They can taunt, though. So I think I just Apocalypse that. Do I bother taunting myself? They're slow as well, so they could go for the taunt. I don't need to punch, but do I want to punch? I think so. I'm healing for more than they are, so the punch is still fine. I think trading 12 damage into 12 damage works in my favor. Especially with the crit damage from Diablo. It's your turn. The final score. They can't taunt this turn. So what happens if this dies? Does it lose taunt? Because that's quite relevant. I think it does. He does, okay. That means my Diablo does get a hit off on Morgul, which is pretty big. Also slows their attack next turn. Their taunt is 6. I mean, I just need to keep healing. I'm winning the healing battle here, so I don't really need to focus on anything else. Right? And we still have Reincarnate up. This is just a losing battle for them because they don't have enough... I mean, this is how you play it. I could just start doing damage and stuff aggressively, but then I need to make sure I'm doing the correct breakpoints and making sure I don't get sniped or anything. But if I just heal as much as possible and do my damaging abilities, we're going to come out on top. What does well against Diablo? Protectors? I don't know. Nice, good W. That was a longer fight. Interesting. And I believe that puts us in top 25.